Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. So excited you are all with us today. For those of you who did not get a chance to meet me when we were out on the tour, my name is Ashley Crawford, and I am the Human Resource Director for More Norman Technology Center. I've been brought in today to talk to you all about communicating through conflict. So, how many of you do not like conflict? Just show of hands. Wow. And how many of you do not like confrontation? Okay, pretty even. So, kind of in line with that same question, how many of you have to deal with a, let's call them, difficult person on a daily basis? Quite a few. And I would imagine that some of them are in this room, and or at some point you yourself have been that difficult person creating conflicts for the team. So let's discuss some of the conflicts you might see in an organization. The first is task conflicts. So when we are looking at task conflicts, those are usually centered around employee assignments. Show of hands, how many of you feel like you get asked to do every single thing from your line lead or supervisor? Exactly. There definitely be some conflicts around that. Task conflicts can also include conflicts over policies and procedures. So maybe someone is not following the policy the right way, or they think what they're doing is better. We're definitely going to see some conflicts around that. The other type of conflict that we will see in an organization is relationship conflicts. So those are usually centered around differences in personalities, differences in styles, differences in taste. And as we all know, I'm looking at a very diverse group of individuals here. I can probably imagine that throughout your time working together, there's been some conflict just due to who you are as a person. And lastly, this kind of ties into the relationship somewhat, but we will see a conflict in values. Conflict of one employee feeling like this value is important and the other one feeling like this one is more important. Fundamental differences in identities and value, differences around politics and religion can all be grouped under value conflicts. So as you're going, think about some conflicts that you may have come up over your course of working with your associates that you may be able to categorize as task conflict, relationship conflicts, or value conflict. Because I'm sure all of us at some point have experienced one or maybe even two of those things. What we know is that many conflicts begin with someone feeling threatened. So on our tours today, we were broken out into different groups, and each group had to decide on a team leader for that group. I'm sure through those decisions, some people were feeling a little threatened by that decision, which may have resulted in a little anger. So, by show of hands, how many of you at some point in your career have felt threatened by either a assignment or by leadership or just by a peer or by someone asking you to do something? And just depending on what they ask and how they ask it. Great. Okay, so you specifically, in that situation you were in, how did you respond? What was your initial feeling? Aggression. Exactly. So what we learned is that many conflicts begin with someone feeling threatened. So someone's been in a position where they react with aggression. Exactly, as most people would. So what I want to do today is I want to give you some tips on how you can navigate conflict, navigate through aggression, that you can use day to day, even work on this room today and use these tips to resolve conflict between yourselves and your peers. And so if you're keeping notes, I'm going to be giving you 5 points, 5 tips that you can use to help you navigate some of this conflict you may be experiencing with your direct reports or your teammates. So the first is focus on the behavior, not your interpretation of that said behavior. So if I am approaching someone and they're working, maybe they're multitasking, who knows? I approach them, I speak to them, they don't turn around and acknowledge me at all. That's going to have me feeling some type of way. But if I choose to focus on their behavior when I go to address them rather than focus on my interpretation of their behavior, it could really transition and ease that transition into resolving the conflict. So, instead of being focused on their behaviors, you focus on instead of being focused on your interpretation of their behaviors, you focus on the behavior when you go to address that. So, let's say the person's acknowledged me. So now I'm going to go to that person, and instead of saying, "You didn't acknowledge me, are you angry?" I'm going to focus on the behaviors they were giving. So, the next we would need to do when we are focusing on that is make sure that when we are communicating our needs and differences, that we are using I statements. Again, this will go back to reinforcing tip number 1, where you are focused on the behavior rather than your interpretation of the behavior. So rather than, like I stated earlier, hey, you didn't turn around and acknowledge me, you're mad at me. It's you approach a person and you would make the statement similar to, hey, I just wanted you to know that when I approach you and you do not turn around and respond to me, I begin to feel like that you may be upset with me or that I've done something to upset you. And then that person knows that it's not necessarily your interpretation, but this is what I was feeling when you did this. Next, speak your truth. And what I mean by that is say what you want to say, not what you don't want them to do. And so be open with your needs when you are talking to the other person. Typically, a lot of times in relationships, whether that's professional or romantic friendships, we tend to tell the other person what we don't want them to do. So when I come to you, I don't want you to ignore me. Well, what do you want from that person? Be sure you are stating what your expectations are from that person or situation. So for this, I would state, hey, I just want you to know that whenever you don't acknowledge me when I'm speaking to you, I feel like you're upset with me. What I would like to see going forward is when I approach you, would you be able to turn around and speak to me and then go back to doing whatever it is you were doing? Again, when we tell someone what not to do, we fail to clarify what we want them to do. So it's very important that when you're speaking with someone, you don't just address what you do not want them to do, but you also touch and hit on your needs of, I don't want you to do this, but I would like to see you do this. So then our 4th tip, so we're on to number 4, would be aware of your nonverbal messages. Be aware of what standing with your arms crossed when someone approaches you with a scowl. Be aware of how that may come off to the other person. I know that if I approach someone and they're not turning around to acknowledge me when I'm speaking, like I said earlier, I'm going to feel like that person is upset. So be aware of your nonverbal cues, your tone, your body language. When you are feeling like you're in a situation of conflict, remember to keep eye contact, keep a calm and relaxed posture and posture, and keep a calm tone when you're addressing these situations. That will really get you going a long way. And lastly, the fifth one, which might be the toughest thing, especially when you've done something unintentionally, is apologize. Apologize and give the person the chance to speak. Like I mentioned, a lot of times we may do things that have unintentionally upset another person. It's okay to apologize for those things. It's okay to come to someone and say, hey, I noticed that when I didn't react to you yesterday, You may have thought I was upset with you. I'm sorry, I was just A, B, or C. And then move on from there. So let's run back again. There were 5 tips. First, focus on the behavior and not the interpretation of what you took from it. Use I statements whenever you are going to address any type of conflict. Speak your truth. So don't just tell the person what you don't want them to do. Be sure to let them know what you are looking for, what you want them to do going forward. 4, be aware of your nonverbal messages. Keep calm posture, keep a calm voice, stay relaxed. And 5, apologize and give that person the chance to speak. We know that communicating is hard enough, but when throwing in conflict, clear and effective communication becomes an even bigger challenge. So honing in on these 5 tips can really help ease that conversation, ease that tension, and really get to a result of conflict resolution. And so what I want to do is I want to leave you with one last point. And I think that this is a saying that we've all may have heard at some point in time, just throughout our lives. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I'll say it again. We've all heard that saying at some point in our lives. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Well, I've got some news for you all. I do not believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that what you say, and again, this is from my own personal experience, I truly believe that what you say is just as important as how you say it. So, thank you all for allowing me to come here, take some time to speak with you. I can be found after the course if anyone has any questions or comments or concerns they would like to address with me. I would love to speak with each and every one of you one-on-one individually. If we can't get through it today, I will be happy to set up a Teams meeting, a Zoom call, whatever needed. But again, thank you all for your time today.